name is Kane, and I make horror films.
Hi, I'm Bill, and I'm in horror movies.
Hi, my name's Tom, and I make horror movies.
Hey, my name's Michael, and I make horror films.
Hi, my name is Ginger, and I make horror films. Gotta be careful with that horror.
Hey everybody, it's James Murray. I'm an actor who loves horror.
My name is Vincent, and I make horror films.
Hi, my name's Alan, and I'm making this documentary on how to make horror films. So join me and some of the most notable people in the industry as we discuss how to make a horror movie. It doesn't matter how much money you have to make your low-budget film.
Making horror films is what I do for a living, or at least I try to.
Should your low-budget film cost $1,000 or $50,000? It doesn't matter how much money you have to make your low-budget movie or short film. So don't let that stop you. Just do it for the love of filmmaking.
Remember, there's no such thing as an ideal budget.
How do you know when you have enough money for your short film? Too often people think of their story ideas for projects without thinking if they can actually pull it off within their financial means.
The first question you have to ask yourself is, what kind of budget is your movie going to have? And the wrong answer is, whatever you got in your pocket.
Making a movie is a long and complex process. What seems like a simple affair at the beginning becomes murkier the deeper you get. Ask any filmmaker. It's almost impossible to remember how a project started once you've passed the grinder that is filmmaking. One small decision you make today will alter your film in profound ways.
Your budget is determined by two things you probably haven't even thought about: the size of your audience and how much you can earn. Hey everybody, I'm Whit Whitman, and we're going to talk about what it takes to make a horror film. Whether we're talking about no budget, low budget, micro, or even actually all the way up to possibly doing a SAG film someday.
A low-budget movie is a movie that's usually financed through self-financing or small private funding. There's no precise number to define a low-budget production, but most of us will agree that anything under $2 million would qualify.
$2 million? Hey, Mr. Moneybags, what do you think we're trying to make? We're not ready for $2 million. We're just trying to do a movie for like, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. What is that process?
So now let's talk about the process on how to make your low-budget film. We'll talk with Whit Whitman, who's currently in production with Murder by Association.
My name's Whit Whitman, and I am a writer, director, producer. And I'm here today to tell you about a project I'm working on called Murder by Association. I'm going to go through that process of, I'm in post-production now, so we're going to go through pre-production, production, and post-production. I'm going to kind of walk you through how I did everything, okay? And I'm also going to give you alternative examples because my approach may not be your approach.
So before Whit gets too far into this, let's talk about funding first.
Whoa. Listen, I know this is an important part for everybody, right? But we got to talk about the creative process.
Well, I know it's important, but let's see what Vincent DeSante has to say about crowdfunding first.
Oh, so we're just we're going into funding.
My name is Vincent DeSante. I'm the creator of the Friday the 13th fan film series, Never Hike Alone. Over the last few years, I spent a lot of time crowdfunding to get these projects done. It's been very much fan-funded. I'm a young independent filmmaker, director. So starting out, I never really intended to make fan films, but when I made my first one, Never Hike Alone, and it sort of took off and I started getting involved in the crowdfunding process, it became like a great stepping stone for me because I started to learn sort of how to interact with my audience, how to raise a fan base, how to get people excited about films, and then the crowdfunding process. And so as an independent filmmaker, working with an IP that exists, working in the fan film realm, we have that sort of built-in audience that allows us to sort of build our initial audience and then work on some original stuff.
Well, we're out of order, but you guys want to hear about financing, so I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Vince had some incredibly good points, especially when you're doing fundraising through crowdfunding, which seems to be the predominant thing most people are doing. But whether you raise 2,000, 5,000, 15, or 20, to make a movie, you actually have to have a budget. When you're doing a very small budget, 2,000, 3,000, most of all this budget is going to go for food and housing. You're trying to take care of your people. You want them to be happy on set. As the money goes up, say you get to 4,000 and 5,000, now you're buying some better equipment. Maybe you even pay an actor or so. As you're going up to 15 and 20, you're adding special effects, you're adding sound and new music. Or you can use some of these wonderful services like Audio Jungle, iStock Photo. You got other friends going out and making video from you in St. Louis. So you're going to get real creative with the less money that you have. Let's see what else Vince has to say about crowdfunding. And you better pay attention because this guy knows what he's doing.
So over the years, it's been a big challenge, sort of learning crowdfunding, learning all the nooks and crannies of it. There are little pitfalls that you can fall into. But as you keep doing it, you start to refine it, and it becomes this great place for independent filmmakers to sort of find a way to connect with fans and create their projects and put money in their projects so their projects have value. So much time that we're working with, no budget. We're working with our friends as actors and doing those things. So the ability to go out and maybe go get a named actor or go get those special effects that you need can take your film from that level where it was something fun that you're doing with your friends on the weekend, but then you can bring it to a film festival and you start to expand your brand. And the more you expand your brand, the more you can crowdfund and kind of just build up your time. So when as I'm building towards my career and I want to direct bigger and better things, this is the foundation of it. This gave me my opportunity to sort of show people what I could do and showcase my skills. And even though it's not filmmaking, learning the additional skill of crowdfunding, learning the additional skill of how to reach out to fans, of how to interact with fans, of how to keep them happy, because you're not just making a movie, you're creating a product. You're sending something through them through a crowdfund that you have to fulfill. You have to send them Blu-rays, you got to send them pins, you got to send them posters. Things go wrong, the mail crushes things, mail prices change, go up and down. And so you have to sort of ride that system and know how to both crowdfund your project and then also crowdfund this campaign in which you've promised people physical goods and a physical movie. And my whole thing, when I do my crowdfunding campaigns and the people that I really work with on them, because I do consult and I help other people when they start getting up, because it's hard. It's a tough business to get into. It can be overwhelming, but it's mostly if you're going to start something, finish it. And that's the most important thing. If you can start something and you can finish it and you can deliver no matter what the challenges are. We faced huge pandemic challenges when we were doing our Never Hike in the Snow project. We had huge delays. We had death of family members of our crew, and we were waiting and waiting, and fans were waiting, but they stuck it out. We stuck through, going through the pandemic, finding the materials, doing all that stuff, and we eventually delivered, and we never gave up. That's the most important thing. If fans see that you are committed to your project, you are committed to telling your story, and you're committed to giving the things that you told them that you were going to give them, you're going to win them over, and it's going to help you when you get to that next level and you get that chance. They're going to show up at the theater when you start making films like that. So it's been a great journey, and I'm happy to be here.
Hey, look, we're going to talk about financing a little bit later, but before we even get there, we need to talk about the creative process and what it's going to take to go get that money.
Calm down, Whit. We're going to get there. Let's hear what legendary actor Bill Moseley has to say.
What advice would I give to guys making micro-budget horror movies, guys and gals? I would say just go for it. I would say practical effects are better than computer graphics. I would say that it really comes down to story. Story is really important.
Did you hear that? What did Bill say? Story is one of the most important parts of making a film. Imagine that. So you have to come up with a unique concept. You either have to tell a story no one's ever heard before or show people things they haven't seen before. You get that and you're ready to make a movie. Now, what are you going to need for that? You're going to need a pitch deck. You're going to have a log line, synopsis, and then possibly you go ahead and do your script. find the people that are going to be in your movie, and put this all together. And now we're ready to go get financing.
So with enough about financing for now, let's talk about why horror movies. Why is it that people want to make horror movies over any other genre?
You know, making a horror film it's difficult because it's low budget, everybody doesn't have a trailer, they don't have this or that. But I have to tell you, I like doing the independent films much better than the big studio films because everybody that's there cares about what they're doing. It's a labor of love, and I love that part of it. But the hardest, the hardest thing is probably the hours, but because I used to do adult movies, I'm used to 18-hour days. I'm used to long days of work, and so it doesn't bother me at all.
I like doing comedies a lot. I like action movies, but horror movies, my kids are 8 and 6, and they love horror movies. And I'll tell you this, if you want to come to these autograph things, you want to do horror movies, because the fans for horror movies are the best fans in the world. And you can do horror movies until you're 100, because, you don't have to look. You could be, you could go from being the sexy young guy like me to the villain. And so horror movies are fun.
What does comedy have to do with horror? Why are you guys talking about this? Tell me please.
So a lot of people ask me what comedy has to do with horror. I'll tell you what. One could argue that everything they do to me on Impractical Jokers is horror. Case in point, they shaved off my eyebrows in one episode. It's still my license with no eyebrows. That's horror, man. There's no difference between comedy and horror. Flip side's the same coin.
The reason the horror genre is so popular is because of the fan base, with over 800 plus conventions a year and hundreds of thousands of people attending.
Hi, I'm Lucy Furr, Office Manager in Hell, Satan's Gal Friday. And I'm here at Atlanta's Days of the Dead. I love going to cons. I love dressing up, although this is kind of business casual for me. And I just flew in from hell, and boy, are my wings tired. But in real life, I'm a cosplayer. I love putting costumes together. I love Halloween. My background is in the haunted house business. I've been doing makeup for haunts for years, and I've kind of retired from the haunt business now, and now I'm focusing on my cosplay character.
So last November, I got the chance to work with Bill Moseley on a film called Red Night at Skies. Got to spend a whole day with him, film him, see his process, and amazing guy. Had his lines like that, brilliant, just loved him.
Hey guys, I'm Chris Rowan. I'm the owner of Buffalo Bill's House, the real filming location from Silence of the Lambs. For the first time in history, you could stay overnight in the actual house where the movie was filmed. It's located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it has never been open to the public before. We do overnight stays for guests up to 8. Guided tours are rolling out in the spring of 2022. We're also open for on-location filming opportunities. Come check out Buffalo Bill's House, buffalobillshouse.com for more information.
Hey, that's great, but it's not just about the fans. It's also about the actors. But where do we find these actors? My name's Alan, and I'm an actor.
My name's Matthew, and I'm an actor.
My name's Abigail, and I'm an actress.
My name's Scott, and I'm an actor.
My name's Mark, and I'm an actor.
Actors bring your script to life. Their delivery will shape the audience experience. Auditioning is not a process you should rush. You need to take your time and find the perfect person for each role.
A lot of times in micro budget, you're not going to get the best actors or the highest priced or the best trained actors. So do a bunch of takes.
But where do you find actors?
There are a number of good websites, as well as physical places that you can reach out to potential actors. There's websites such as Casting Call Pro, Castnet, or Backstage. You can even go to your local college or university. More than likely there's a theater or drama department that could help you out. You can also search on Facebook groups. You want to reach out to all these groups with a detailed project that sells your film to them. You can include links to your show reel, awards you may have won, who you're currently involved with, and if the film will be entered in festivals. We may have got off track for a little bit. Let's go back to talking about making a movie. Now keep in mind, making these movies isn't all fun and games. There's lots of times that things go wrong, even with professionals. Let's hear a few stories.
Things on the set don't always go smoothly. I was doing a movie called Avenging Force with Michael Dudikoff, Steve James. I was doing a high fall off of a crane, and it was a tricky one because I had to do a fight scene, then go off the crane sideways after being kicked in the stomach. So it's a difficult one. It's not one you want to do more than once because it can be dangerous if it doesn't go well. So we did it, shot it. I hit the landing area and I was very happy we were done. Camera assistant tells me there was a problem with the main camera, so it wasn't captured on film. So had to do it again. One of the crew members paid the price, but let's not get into that right now.
Quite a few. I think the most difficult time or experience I had doing a horror film is probably The Hills Have Eyes. We shot that in Morocco. It was in, I think it was June, July, parts of August timeframe, the first one. And it was like 120, 125 every day. And when you're in full prosthetics, it gets pretty uncomfortable sometimes. But, you know, fortunately for me, as my mom says, I have a good face for prosthetics. And so does KMB, the guys who did the makeup effects for Hills of Eyes. So, and it held up well, but it was tough, especially when it was really hot and putting all the prosthetics on. That was probably the most difficult time.
Hey, you guys think you got problems. Remember, you're on some really big movies. So I'm going to talk about what happens on smaller movies that you just wouldn't think of, because as you're making a movie, every time you do one, you're learning, right? And failing is as natural as breathing, but learn what you're going to do different next time. So let me talk about Murder by Association. What happened that I wasn't expecting? We shot this one on a new red camera, and all the movies I've been doing before were 1080p or 2K, and so we would shoot a movie and it'd be anywhere from 4 to 6 terabytes. So we decided we're going to shoot on a red camera. 22 terabytes. I don't know if you guys bought hard drives, but you can't just buy 122. You gotta buy 2 for a backup. So I went from having a budget of $600 for hard drives, which I'm used to paying, to $2,500 to buy 2 hard drives. That money had to come up from somewhere. And we didn't know it was gonna happen, right? Because we're always pushing, always trying to get better. Some other things, the food. We knew somebody was going to come in and make the food, but we had a lot more people show up than we knew, and then all of a sudden we started running out of food, and we started out with chili and then chili dogs, and you know. So when you're on set, you got to take care of that kind of thing. People are always coming and going. On a SAG film, they say, hey, you can't leave. But it's really hard when people are working with you and investing with you to go, yeah, you can't go down to the store to buy some cigarettes because we're going to need you in an hour. Well, the first time you tell them you can do that, their car breaks down. Now I'm sending out other people to do this. And it's basically making a movie. You're always going to learn new things. But I will tell you this. Somebody told me this. It's pretty interesting. Making a movie, the production side, is like herding cats. And if you're directing, you're trying to pull all these people in while the building's burning down and somebody hands you a baby. I mean, it's just very stressful. So one of the reasons I think indie people go on to be successful SAG directors, because they've ran into every problem they possibly can. And be prepared.
Okay, so we've talked about crowdfunding. We've talked about budgets. We've talked about getting actors. We've talked about problems on the set. There's still a lot of things we haven't covered here yet. We still need to talk about getting a crew, getting equipment, post-production, marketing, distribution. But I tell you what, let's just jump right in. I need a little bit of practice before I go any further. So I've got a little idea I've thrown together. I'm gonna grab my iPhone and a Mac computer, use iMovie. I'm gonna film a short film, put it together. Let's play it right here and take a look at it.
Jimmy, why'd you lock the door?
Emily, it's Jimmy. I'm out with some friends at a Mexican restaurant. Looks like I'm not going to make it home for dinner. I'll probably be pretty late. Bye.
Great. I guess I'm gonna be making myself some dinner tonight.
Emily, come here.
I thought you were at the Mexican restaurant tonight.
Emily, come here.
Hang on, I'm hungry. Hang on, I told you I'd be up in a minute.
Hey, Emily, I'm going to be a little while. But Mom should be home any minute. Emily? Hello? Hello?
Emily, are you home?
Mom, can you come here?
Okay, there we go. There was a proof of concept film. I made that short film with absolutely a zero budget. I shot it on an iPhone. We did it all in one take, less than 10 minutes of filming. I spent about 30 more minutes on a laptop using iMovie putting it together. So, now that we've seen that, let's talk to another filmmaker who makes short films and see what he has to say. Well, we may not have covered everything, but that about wraps it up for now. Let's ask some of our favorite actors what their favorite horror movies are.
Kind of like The Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Repo the Genetic Opera, 3 from Hell.
My favorite horror movie, and some people might not consider this a horror movie, but The Shining. I loved it. I loved Jack Nicholson. I loved the idea of being stuck in a hotel in the winter and being alone and going crazy. And but you know, I did. What was the movie I did? Nightmare on Elm Street. Is that it? Yeah, I did that. I did, and I've done a few horror movies, and they're always great fun. But this younger generation loves them. You know, us older ones. You know, I worked with Toby Hooper. He directed me and John Carpenter in something called Body Bags, which was great fun. They're also very funny guys. John Carpenter is like the funniest dude in the business, and he was acting with me, and Toby was directing us. That was a great honor.
My favorite horror movie of all time would have to be The Exorcist. And that's because I was 13. It was one of the first movies I got to go see by myself. And I was convinced that the devil lived in our cellar underneath of my room after that movie. So for 2 weeks, my mom and dad, they were like, "Yeah, you're fine, you know." And I'm like, I can't sleep. So I would crawl out into the hallway and sleep on the floor outside of their door because I was so afraid that I was going to get possessed. So The Exorcist is my favorite.
My name's Tom, and I'm an alcoholic.
The hardest thing about making a horror film is remembering the lines.
And cut.
What a fucking train wreck. I hope nobody I know sees this thing.
Did you get a hold of Robert England?
That asshole never called me back. I guess he won't be in the film.
Dude, that's what we were counting on.